you love pop culture.
I love pop culture.
And movies and things. One of my favorite articles that you wrote is about Ella Enchanted.
Yes.
Which I loved growing up. And then, like, I read your article and I was like, oh my god.
It's such a good book. It does so many feminist things.
Oh, I'm the worst and I've only seen the movie.
Oh.
But,
which was less feminist, but still not bad.
That was where I was introduced to Hugh Dancy for the first time.
Oh, God. Yeah, he's dreamy.
He danced into my heart. That was
quite literally. There are musical numbers in that.
Yeah, that's true. I thought it would be cool to talk about movies and stuff and different depictions of
the ladies.
I
would love to. It's fun. I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, I know where I can start, and
go for it.
You will find this fun. That over the Thanksgiving break, I decided to watch a little old gem called John Tucker Must Die.
Yes.
Which I kind of associated often with like Mean Girls in my mind. Like it's that kind of movie that you sort of like have seen a bunch of times, like in middle school, and then
they came out around the same time. Like there's like a Revenge Against the Popular Kids theme. Yeah, and I watched it and was thoroughly appalled. Yep.
By,
it's real bad.
The slut shaming, the blatant jokes about herpes. If you don't remember, or if anyone has not seen the movie, part of their way of taking him down is doing a fake photo shoot of him and then doing like a advertisement in a movie theater that like he has herpes, and then like a girl like dumps him.
Yeah, because he's on a date.
Theater. Yeah.
Oh, I totally remember that. Yeah, I had like blocked that out of my memory just a little bit.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. No, and that's like a running trope of people getting revenge on their exes by spreading rumors about them having herpes. Like I see it all the time. I was just rewatching all of the Thanksgiving Friends episodes for the holiday season.
Right.
And in the first season, there's an episode where Joey is really excited because he finally gets a modeling campaign with a health agency, and he doesn't know like what he's going to be the face of. He's like, maybe it'll be Lyme disease, and it winds up being VD, which is like not even a term we use anymore. And like they have this montage of him being looked at funny, and the poster being shared around New York City, and it's got "Don't Stand So Close to Me" being played under it, and it's supposed to be so funny. I know, it's supposed to be, it's like played for laughs, and then we find out that Joey's been disinvited to his family Thanksgiving because his family all thinks he has VD, and everybody's like, ha, that's hilarious. It's like, no, that's appalling.
Oh my goodness.
Like, people being thrown out of their homes because they have STIs does happen. But it's like, it's funny, those things that we watch, like, when we're younger and we just are less aware, and we're like, oh, that's hilarious. And then when you reach a point where you either know someone with an STI, or, like, you learn about different things. Like, we see this a lot with transgender talks now. Or not talks, sorry. I work for TED. Basically, like, you see it a lot with transgender jokes now when you go back and watch shows from the 90s that are so transphobic. And, like, we know better now.
Yeah.
And that show just didn't age well. But, yeah, John Tucker Must Die. I forgot that that's in there.
It was intense. There was a lot of, there was, like, one of the 3 girls who, like, sort of team up with, Brittany Snow.
Oh my god, Brittany Snow. Cool baby.
Adorable. But she is like very outwardly sexual, and like they keep like putting her down and calling her a slut.
Yeah, she's the slutty one. Is that she's the brunette, right? I think
so.
And they make out in a Jeep at some point. Yeah. It's funny to see like in those movies, and it still happens now, but when there's a group of girls, there's like the slutty one. Like Pitch Perfect does that too. There's like the slutty girl in the acapella club.
You're right.
And it's just like, why is this still funny? Pitch Perfect is one of those movies, one of those franchises, God.
Oh no.
It like seems so
Don't
progressive.
Validate it.
I know. It seems so progressive when you watch it because it's all of these women and they're all being funny and they're bonding and like passes the Bechdel test, and it's so great. And then when you rewatch it, you're like, well, actually, like.
Did you see the sequel?
Yeah.
That sequel was cringeworthy.
It was
and not
so
really on
bad.
feminist grounds, but like.
I remember there being race issues.
So many racist jokes.
I remember being like, this is too many white women to be talking like this.
Yeah. It's like, Elizabeth Banks, you let me down.
Yeah. And Pitch Perfect has a herpes joke. There's like a, well, at least it's not herpes. And a lot of people, I think it's what's her face, the awesome Australian lady, Rebel Wilson.
Yes.
And there's like now a gif on the internet of her being like, well, at least it's not herpes, and I use it all the time. But
I I guess if you can't beat them, join them. Is that
Yes.
the mentality?
Funny story, actually, the day that I went viral, I called a friend as I was having like a panic attack, and I told him what had happened, and I was freaking out. I was like, everybody knows. And he goes, well, at least it's not herpes. And I was like, that doesn't even make sense, but it's so funny, and I am so stressed. And I just like laughed for like 10 minutes. But pop culture, yeah, Pitch Perfect does not pass the herpes Ella Dawson test.
Oh my god.
We should make a thing.
Okay, what are the grounds for the Ella Dawson herpes test?
Don't make herpes jokes unless they're not awful. I don't know, like it's really possible to make good herpes jokes.
Right.
Is the thing. Like it's like a lot of humor that involves trauma or marginalized groups. Like if it's self-aware, especially if it's being made by a member of that group, like there's a lot of potential there.
Mhm.
There was actually a great article on Jezebel this week by a stand-up comedian who was like, I started making herpes jokes. And she had some joke about like how we really need to create a cure because it'll make her life easier, and I can't make that funny because I don't remember exactly what it was, but there's real potential there. I love the herpes puns. I talk about how my virus went viral all the time, which is not actually that funny a joke, but I don't care.
I'm a fan.
Thank you. But there's like, you can totally make a good herpes joke, but it can't be at the expense of people who have herpes. It should be at the way that we think about herpes. It's kind of like sexual assault jokes. Like you can totally joke about rape culture if you're sensitive to it and you're savvy, but if you're just making a joke about rape, that's not funny.
Yeah.
And it's going to upset people and it's going to hurt people. So be empathetic,
Yeah.
but clever.
I can't remember who it is, who their motto when it comes to like making sensitive like topics and jokes, it's just like, just don't be a dick.
Yeah, don't be a dick. That's exactly it. I'm trying to think of like good classic herpes jokes, but none are coming to mind. But they're out
I
there.
feel like a lot of them are like, well, at least it's not herpes, or like you can't get rid of that, or like
The Hangover is the one that everybody, like every article written about herpes stigma talks about the line from The Hangover that I'm just like, can we use a different example? But it's like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas,
Right.
except herpes. I'm just like, that's not even creative. A lot of things from Vegas stick with you, like debt and alcoholism. I'm just like, stop. Oh, and then John Oliver. We can talk about John Oliver.
Oh, yeah, you're excited.
I'm so upset at John Oliver. I love John Oliver. I love his show, but he has a really awful habit of making fun of STIs. And he got so much love from the internet for doing his sex education special.
Yes, I did watch that
And
after
it's like,
you were talking
it's
about
almost all amazing. It's like 16 minutes of good with like a minute of bad at the end, because he jokes about HPV and disclosing, and like, if somebody says, I think the line is something like, if somebody says everybody has HPV, they're just saying that because they have HPV and they want to make themselves feel better. It's like, no, statistically, no, everybody does.
The statistic is insane. It's
Yeah, it's bonkers. It's. I know that like 80% of the world's population, it's 2 in 3 people have the strain of herpes that I have. Like the World Health Organization just did a study on it, and everybody peed themselves. They were so scared, and I was like, I told you so. But HPV is, I don't know the statistic, but it is so common, and there are a lot of strains, and most people don't have symptoms, and like, yeah, people are like, I think it was Lena Dunham, or it might have been Mindy Kaling, did a joke where like, I went to college and then I got HPV, because that's what happens when you go to college. But John Oliver is not on my... He does not pass the Ella Dawson herpes test. He made a joke this past week of like, there are a few things that we know are unstoppable or incurable, and it was like terrorism, herpes, and Guy Fieri. And like, one of those things is not like the other.
Really, all 3 of those things are very different.
They're very different.
Although Guy Fieri,
I'm okay with making fun of Guy Fieri.
we could stand to have a little less Guy Fieri.
Yeah. And terrorism, like, would be great if that were not a thing, but, like, herpes, really?
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna compare herpes to terrorism?
You're gonna compare herpes to Guy Fieri?
None of that joke is funny. Just, like, and it's John Oliver. And it's the thing that bothers me the most about it is John Oliver would be the perfect person to talk about herpes stigma. Because he takes these stories that are very, like, obvious and yet don't get enough attention, and he breaks them down so eloquently. And herpes stigma has everything. It has like doctors not telling you what you're being tested for, and like that whole convoluted fact that the tests don't work, and like you'll get a lot of false positives and negatives, and like whether or not herpes stigma was bought by the pharmaceutical industry in the 80s. Like, there's so much there.
Yeah.
And
I feel
it
like
makes me angry.
going into that, like, it's always easier to make a dumb and sensitive joke than an educated, really, like, nuanced joke that, like, is actually, like, informed.
I know. Makes me sad.